All right, hey guys, it's Miss Firehammer again with my final video on the French Revolution here. Just trying to get the slideshow going. All right, there we go. So Miss Sharpe had to go and pick up his kids. Oh, so cute. All right, so you just got me here, but I'm super excited to talk about Napoleon Bonaparte. I think he's super interesting. All right, so Napoleon, kind of a background on him. He was born in this small French-controlled island of Corsica. He was born to this minor noble family. So they kind of had some wealth, but they weren't exactly people who were up in France fawning around the king. All right, and with that, and the fact they didn't have a lot of wealth, they sent him off to military school in France, and he was really, really good at military. He was really smart, and he was able to grasp military tactics really well. And then through the chaos of the revolution, it allowed him to rise to really high ranks within the military there. He also helped to overthrow the weak Directory, which was as you remember, the third phase of the French Revolution in 1799. And he decided to help set up a three-man governing system, the Councilate. Over time, eventually, he would call himself First Consul, and then by 1804, France was crowning him their emperor at Notre Dame. But actually, what's really interesting is that he invited the Pope to his crowning, but then he took the crown from the Pope and crowned himself because he was a self-made emperor. That's what he called himself. So that's pretty interesting. All right, here's just a really famous picture of Napoleon on top of horseback. You can see he's looking really regal there, pointing up to the sky. All right, so Napoleon, though he takes over and becomes emperor, which is kind of crazy that the French, they didn't even want a king and now they got an emperor, he actually really helps out France. So he used his military outlook to shape his empire. He wanted things orderly, efficient, and he wanted to work on security. All right, so he reorganized the government, basically building new roads, building canals, set up some public schools for kids to go to, regulated the economy, basically stabilizing France at this time. And the reason why a lot of people liked him is he put in a lot of reforms that were liked by all three of those estates, all three of those social classes we were talking about earlier, kind of like in the sense that he allowed peasants to keep the land that they got from church. So now those peasants are getting more land. And he decided to make government jobs be based on your talent or on your education, not based on whether you were born into the right family. Okay, and he is well known for his Napoleonic Code that he wrote, which put in these reforms, put in these regulations. He used a lot of Enlightenment ideals and he used a lot of his military background in order to establish this code. And it is still actually seen in some of French government today. Right? One of the bad things, though, is that women lost a lot of their rights under this new code. They had a couple more rights under, like, the National Assembly, under the Directory. But when Napoleon came in, he basically kind of tore out a lot of the rights, so that's not fun. Down there, you can see kind of a book of his code. All right, so we all know Napoleon as being this guy who tried to take over the world, or at least Europe. So he's constantly trying to expand the French Empire using different military tactics every single battle. Every battle he goes into, he's using a different tactic in order to try to win it. So nobody from the other countries fighting against them could even plan or even think of what he was going to do within battle. And that really helped him out. So he added a lot of new land to France. He signed a lot of new alliances with other nations like Austria and Prussia. And in order to govern all of this territory, because he can't obviously do it all by himself, in order to help him govern all of this new territory, he would put like his brother, his cousins on the different thrones of the countries that he conquered. So if he conquered Spain, he put his brother on the Spanish throne, kicked out the real monarchs of Spain and put his brother on there. Now, he did come into trouble, though, with Great Britain. So he tried to invade Great Britain a lot, and they pushed him back. And eventually, they both tried to fight in economic warfare. So basically, blockading each other from getting supplies. They started taking each other's ships on the seas, trying to intercept supplies that the other country would need. And actually, intercepting these ships, they started intercepting little American ships that were trying to go over to Europe to start establishing our country here. And it actually angered us so much that this is why we have the War of 1812 in the US. Just an aside there. All right, I got this picture here of Napoleon's empire in 1810. So you can see the dark purple is the French Empire. It's a lot bigger than what we know of France today. And you can see down there, right under France, that little island, Corsica, that's where he's from. Now, the lighter purple parts are the parts that are controlled by him, and then the, I guess pink color here are the countries that are allied with him. And I say ally in like air quotes because they were really kind of forced to be to be allied with him. All right, and then you see Great Britain and Portugal are fighting against him. So Napoleon owns pretty much all of Europe here. You can see he also got rid of the Holy Roman Empire. That Holy Roman Empire that we've been talking about for forever has finally been dismantled, and he makes it the Confederation of the Rhine. Okay, so I've been talking about how he's just been taking over Europe. Well, everyone wasn't so like, yeah, Napoleon, you can totally come into our country and take us over. No, a lot of places kind of started to resist him. And the main driving force behind this resistance to Napoleon was the fact that when he came in and tried to establish French culture onto these places, tried to establish his own military and government controls onto these places, people started to have a growing sense of nationalism, which is basically pride in their country. So he's going off into Spain and putting all French culture onto Spain, and the Spanish people are going, no, like, we have our own culture here in Spain. And they're starting to get an intense pride for their country, which then spurs these people on to fight against Napoleon. So in Spain, for example, we've got people engaging in guerrilla warfare because they don't have enough of a force in order to meet Napoleon on the battlefield and actually fight him that way. So people are grabbing guns, they're shooting Napoleon's army at any interval they can. They're trying to make sure that he cannot get complete control over Spain. Now, Napoleon makes a terrible, terrible mistake, which helps bring him down. He decides he wants to invade Russia. Now, Russia left an alliance that they made with Napoleon, so he gets really angry about this and decides he needs to attack in September, of all times. So he's coming into Russia, and the Russian people are going, we're Russia, we're big, we got a lot of people. Let's just kind of burn our fields, let's burn our cities, let's just leave. We don't actually have to meet them on battle, it'll be great. So they use this scorched earth policy, basically just burning all of the food that Napoleon would need as he's marching through with his gigantic 600,000 men army. And so Napoleon finally gets to Moscow, and he sees that it is burning down, and he hasn't been able to replenish his food. His army is underfed, and he basically realizes he needs to turn back around to France. And so this is now November, and he is marching back through Russia in the winter, in the snow, without food. You guys can probably put this together. It did not work out very well for Napoleon. He actually lost 500,000 men just from his march back. So I've got some pictures here. The one on the left is Napoleon in Moscow. You can see that it is just burning down. There's nothing he's going to get out of that city. And then on the right, you can see his troops marching back through Russia. It's cold. You got some people buried in the snow. People were just dying as they were walking back, and people would just have to walk by and be like, oh man, that's the like third death today. So he comes back to France, and people are just in shock of how terrible this decision was to go into Russia. Now, this kind of starts his downfall. So his failed attempt into Russia brings Austria and Prussia and Britain and Russia together into this alliance, and they defeat Napoleon at Leipzig in 1813. So he abdicates from power, they capture him, and they exile him to this small little island called Elba in the Mediterranean. And they think everything's fine. These allied people, they come together, they put Louis XVIII on the throne of France, but Louis XVIII is not a great guy. He's very weak, doesn't really know how to rule. And Napoleon actually escapes from prison and makes his way back to France. People are like, yes, Napoleon's back. Like, this is going to be great. He's going to make France up again. We're going to get rid of Louis XVIII. He's going to be our ruler. And people welcomed him back warmly. They actually really liked Napoleon. And for 100 days, Napoleon is doing well. He's trying to regain power. but then he is defeated for good at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. At this point, those allied nations of Great Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, they exile Napoleon down to a very, very, very small island, St. Helena, in the South Atlantic, kind of by Africa. And he lives out his days there and dies in the early 1800s. So, kind of the legacy of Napoleon. His code is still seen in France today. He expanded suffrage, which is the voting rights of people. He spread the idea of revolutions around the world. He helped to create a new German nation when he got rid of the Holy Roman Empire. And also, if you guys know something about the Louisiana Purchase, he was the one who sold this land to us here in the US, basically expanding our United States, basically doubling it with this purchase. All right, so it's a couple more slides here. After Napoleon gets exiled, the representatives and the monarchs from a lot of countries around Europe come together and they meet because they want to figure out how to restore order in Europe. If you guys remember that map we looked at a little bit ago, I mean, Napoleon basically went through and controlled almost all of Europe and was disrupting things left and right. So these European rulers wanted to come together and talk about how they're going to restore order and monarchy across Europe. The leaders of this Congress was the leaders of Austria, Russia, Great Britain. They actually allowed a representative from France to come, and that guy was kind of sly. He went through, played some people off, and actually made it so that France didn't get screwed out of a deal. They got pretty good land here out of this. Now, though, the Prussians and the Austrians and everybody else there in the Congress of Vienna created the Netherlands. They expanded Prussia, they expanded Austria. And if you look at a map, those three places kind of surround France in order to make sure that France isn't going to expand again. Okay, the Congress also brought back the idea of legitimacy to gain the throne. So basically, you have to be hereditary. It needs to go father, son, father, son, father, son, not somebody like Napoleon coming in out of nowhere to become the emperor. And they also created this Concert of Europe, which was basically a peacekeeping organization. They all try to ally themselves together so that no one person from one country can come up and sort of destroy Europe like Napoleon did. All right, last slide here. Just have a picture of what Europe looks like after this Congress of Vienna. So you have France going back down to what we know of France right now. If you look up in the north, you've got the Netherlands there and Sweden and Norway. You have the German Confederation, which in not bringing back the Holy Roman Empire and having this German Confederation, these German people start to have a sense of their own nationality. And we're going to learn later that they're going to become, Germany is finally going to become a country here soon. And then you've got Prussia is to expand, Austria, you've got more expansion. So this is kind of where Europe is right now in our scope of things. All right, so I hope you enjoyed all of our videos. I hope they are super helpful, and I will see you guys later.